Does the courts have history of being able to prove these things?
Oh,
because she's already on trial on the Sikagari thing. And that's pending, isn't it?
It's pending. It's even going to be hard for.
As for the charlatan advertisement, it's straightforward.
Yes. For charlatanic, and that one is also problematic. Look at this. Fortune telling. What is fortune telling?
Palmistry, telling you how you. I look at you and say.
Fortune telling,
the way you look, you're going to be a great person in future. So give me 100 cedis to cement that. Yeah, to cement the greatness that I can see on your forehead. Give me 100 cedis.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fortune telling, right?
That's fortune telling.
Yeah, but it happens in churches.
It does.
So if I advertise that in church,
the prophet comes and calls and says, "What's your name? I think your name is Chrissy. Come. The Lord has blessed you. Go and put something in the offering basket and come back. And let me preach for you. Let me pronounce something on you." And the people do that, and it works sometimes.
Yeah, and reason I wouldn't say problem, but this provision also is a bit problematic for me, because if we are going to enforce it, it's going to be a big deal. Palmistry, for instance, now is done in churches. Pastors use palms. Really? Yes, pastors use palms to read people's destinies. Pastors use faces to read. I remember there was one time in a pastor's church, and you see, accidents, and when he was asked why and how, he says he was looking at their foreheads.
He could see.
And he could see it on the forehead.
That ball.
So,
but astrology is published in the newspapers.
The signs,
yes,
the stars,
the zodiac, and all that. Yeah, it's published in the newspapers.
Exactly. And it is people.
So is that charlatanic advertisement?
That's what you're saying.
Because in the newspapers, in graphic, they publish Aries. You're going to do this week. This is going to happen that week.
And this is the person you should date. You know, people come and say,
"Oh, that's why you be reading."
Me, I don't have time. I don't even know my star. People say I am a
Virgo.
So I'm supposed to date this one. Virgos behave like this. All those things.
But it's kind of true, though. You read it and see. It's kind of. It's not to be relied upon. I have to be clear to say that. No, it's not. It may not even be a guide. But when you read circumstantially, somehow, some of it are really, really true.
As for me, if you come and you do something to me, I won't say because of your style, I'll spare you.
Well, you have to be tolerant in that area. It also helps us to tolerate other people.
So it's understand where they're coming from.
It's almost like the sanguine, melancholy, and all of that. So once you can
groups.
Understand them, then you can tolerate them better. So you come to this room and you see that Michelangelo is kind of different, and then you find that he's sanguine. You say, okay, Michael is sanguine. You are choleric, obviously, because you are all over the place. But usually cholerics combine with sanguine, very interesting combination. So there's phlegmatic, they are another kind of. So it helps you to tolerate people. Yeah.
But you see, it then speaks to the issue of Article 17 and discrimination. Wait, can I keep the money?
No, not for now. Thanks. What does 17 say?
You see, 17 says that there shall be no discrimination. And then 17.3 defines discrimination as the treatment of a group of people or a person to the detriment of the person. Astrology is a fortune telling, palmistry. These are essential elements or features of people's faith.
Yes, absolutely.
And so if Section 137 of Act 29 is saying that these things cannot be advertised, but Islam can be advertised, but Christianity can be advertised. Even now, these things are found in Christianity, right? But traditional religion
That's a very interesting
can
point
be advertised.
You're making.
Then, aren't we discrimination?
But for some religions, for Hindus and stuff like that, astrology could be very important.
Yes, I have an aunt who is from my mother's side, Togolese, who is Hindu.
And they do astrology quite a bit.
Yes, and she comes to the house, and last time she was chanting, my mother got very angry.
So you think there has to be a real look at 137?
And that was why I was saying that the Act 29 was passed in 1960.
Yeah, we know that, but it's been amended. It's amended so many times.
It's been amended, but I'm talking about for instance, this has not been touched.
Yeah,
the only amendment was made in the Electronic Transactions Act, where they added and said that not just journal or newspaper, but social media, website, television, and then they added to it. But that is all. At that time, majority of Ghanaians were Christians. And even the Christianity in 1960, predominantly, we did some work on the show.
Recently,
predominantly,
there were a lot of traditional
Catholics.
religion.
Yeah,
but before the 40s.
In the 40s.
But the Christianity of the 60s was a protest. Was the
Catholics and Apostolic.
Catholic and Methodist and the Orthodox.
And for Orthodox, they are these things palmistry. I mean,
they don't do those things.
They don't do those things.
If a so priest will give you that
prophecy,
the influence of the law we wrote in 1960 was the kind of Christianity we had
then.
So this was really a promulgation of Christianity
exactly.
to the exclusion of other religions that were going to grow later on.
And the potential influence of those religions on Christianity. So a priest, if a priest wants to tell you something, maybe he sees something. You know, Muhammad like this was prophesied. It was a monk, a priest that prophesied to Muhammad, you will be great, you will form a religion. They won't stand in church and prophesy. No. A Catholic priest will call you aside and tell you that this is and this and this is what I've seen. And he will give you prayers. Go and pray. At that time, because those things were done in chambers, it didn't click that in the future, that is now, these things, fortune telling, palmistry, astrology,
will become part of the worship service. Also part of the service.
Yes,
there's prophecy time.
Yes, there's prophecy time.
And for Reverend Obofor's church, people, that's the best part.
Yes.
Prophecy time is the best part. And then they play the drums, and then it's prophecy time. Everybody is seated. And then he's walking through the church, and everybody is trying to catch his eye. And then he's walking and said, one day a friend of Patrick. And then somebody raises his hand. Patrick, bruh. I don't know who's be to say a double road be wofie and Otikanda. Then the guy says yes. And they sing praise, people start clapping and say, Patrick, last week Friday, me who said we in New York. They say Saturday na me buy, and then the people start go wild. Yes. And you are saying that is what 137 is prohibiting.
Yes.
Wow, that's very interesting.
At that time, as I said, even though Catholics, Methodists also engage, and that's one thing a lot of people don't know, that Orthodox people think
they do that, but they were doing it in chambers.
But they do it in chambers.
Oh, I see.
Because according to the philosophy of the Catholic Church, everything must center on Christ.
So you don't take anything away from the Christ.
So
Christ all other things are done on the side.
So you go and see some chamber somewhere. So it didn't click that publication in a journal or newspaper. It didn't click then. Because they thought that even if a priest would tell a prophecy,
it will be quiet.
You will call him, you will call the person aside and say, I've seen this about you, therefore pray, do this thing. Go and give money. The Nicodemus way.
Yeah, they were doing go and give money. I've heard a few of
Go and give money to the lepers.
The
go and give money to the poor person.
Yeah, that's what go to beggars and give them some money. That is what I've seen about you.
That is what they used to do that,
but it's private.
In Orthodox churches.
But
it's private. But now, the influence of others. So, this has the potential of discriminating against those faiths and beliefs, even charismatic churches. And when people see fortune telling, palmistry, astrology, their mind, they think, it's just Hinduism. But you're also discriminating against the Hindus. So it is a discussion we should have, particularly and also the influence on Article 21, which ensures freedom of religious beliefs. And you know the case of Klosag, versus Attorney General, when the court held that the restriction on the rights of individuals or of persons should only be done when two things are satisfied. When the enjoyment of the rights adversely affects everybody, and when the restriction is proportionate to the commensurate threats of the enjoyment of that right. If I am going for my prophecy, my fortune telling, and it's not affecting everybody, why is it your problem that you have criminalized it and put it in Section 137?
That's interesting. Let's wrap it up quickly. Section 137. We spent.
This is all part of it. The editor. So they're even going to punish the editors and everything.
Come back to Agradaa. So what's your gut feeling? How do you see? When does the processes continue?
We are not very sure yet, but right now the police have issued a statement that other persons should come forward, and so I think the police would want to build the case first. But however, while they are building the case, she would remain in custody unless there is a repeat application.
Has she found representation by lawyers?
I am sure she has found representation. If it wasn't for the fact that I would have been happy to represent her.
I see. Okay, viewers, I hope you enjoyed that session. It's for purpose of education. Here on Good Evening Ghana, we are determined to bring you the story 22 minutes past the top of the hour.